Welcome to the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry channel. I am your host, Maynard Edwards, 32nd degree KCCH, Scottish Rite Freemason. Before we go any further, you definitely want to subscribe to the channel and give us a thumbs up, and also share the video with anybody who is interested in Freemasonry. But in this case, also anybody who is interested in, let's say, the unexplained. We have some, let's call it, paranormal evidence. If you're coming over to us from the podcast, then you've already heard the story about what we're going to share with you. If you've not heard the podcast, check out the link below for the Tyler's Place podcast, which you can listen to on all the major podcast platforms, Spotify, Apple, all of those. Search for the Tyler's Place, and you're going to want our Halloween 2022 episode. And again, it's linked in the description below. In that, we talk about some ghost stories that have been heard here at our Scottish Rite headquarters, the House of the Temple in Washington, D.C. This building is over 100 years old, and it has been our national headquarters since it opened its doors in 1915. And there are some great ghost stories that are associated with this building. You're not going to want to miss those. But one of those stories was shared with us by my dear friend and brother, Arturo de Hoyos, who is our Grand Archivist. As it turns out, in 2007, he and another friend of his set up some microphones in one of the museum spaces here inside the House of the Temple, and they let the microphones run all night, and they captured what they believe is an EVP. Now, at this point, thanks to the History Channel and the Sci-Fi Network and Ghost Hunters and all of those shows, most people know what an EVP is. But if you don't, an EVP is an electronic voice phenomenon. It's when you use a recording device and you capture, either accidentally or on purpose, the sound of someone speaking when there was no one there. And as a, for instance, might, get a recorder out and say, "Hello, ghost, if you can hear me, please say a few words." And then you listen back to the recording later on and you hear a response that was not there while you were listening. Now, there's lots and lots of instances of this, and if you're interested in it, go hit Google, and I promise you it's a rabbit hole that'll take you some time to get down. But in 2007, Brother Art and a friend of his captured what they believe to be an EVP here in the House of the Temple overnight when there was no one here. They set up a microphone, they hit record, they walked away. The next day, they listened back to some things, and they found this. And this file, which I'm going to share with you in just a second, is a recording that they made at that time. So they get the footage, they go through it all, and they see these spikes here on this waveform. If you look at this, these are audio waveforms. When you record audio and it's represented digitally, this is what it looks like in waveform. And then down here in this colored area, that is the spectral analysis. And this tells audio editors different things about the audio, but we'll get to that in a second. Before we play the sound for you and kind of break down what we think it is, let's talk about who we think it may be. The room that this recording was made in was once known as the Burl Ives room. It was a museum space here inside the House of the Temple dedicated to Brother Burl Ives. Burl Ives was a 33rd degree Scottish Rite Mason, but he was also a very famous American singer, actor, author, songwriter. His career spanned more than 6 decades in the middle of the 20th century. He actually won an Academy Award at one point in time. He had many, many hit records. But, he's one of those characters who, for whatever reason, even though he was very, very famous in his time, his fame is sort of dimmed over time, and he's not as familiar to modern audiences, with one exception. He is the voice of the snowman, who is the narrator / Greek chorus in the Rankin and Bass holiday classic Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. And in fact, Burl Ives is one of 2 Scottish Rite Masons who had a hit record with Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, the first being Gene Autry and the second was Brother Burl Ives. In that Burl Ives room, while all the Burl Ives things were set up and on display, and we've got a few pictures of it, not too many exist, believe it or not, this recording was made. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to listen to this EVP completely unedited. This is directly off of the recording device that they used. So let's check this out. Now, that was made at about 2 o'clock in the morning. No one is here in the temple. It's closed. It's isolated. There's just this recording running in that room, and this is what they catch. And once you listen very carefully, you're going to hear a little bang. Then you hear something that distinctly sounds like a human voice, and it's right around in this area. And then a couple of more things banging about. Brother Art de Hoyos, as he explained in the podcast, really thought that was a human voice saying the words old memories. All right, so first and foremost, let's just take a minute and clean this up. And you can see where we think these things are. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the noise. I'm going to tell the computer to basically take a picture of the noise, okay? And so now it has taken a picture of the noise. It knows what's noise and what's not. And so now I'll take this entire file and I'm going to go ahead and let's say denoise. Let's go there and let's try this. Let's try light noise reduction first. See if we can get some of that out of there. So not much of a difference at that point. So let's try something a little different here. We're still going to use that same noise profile. And let's go ahead and try this way. All right. See, the computer is going to go through here and it's going to match up and say, okay, well, these things are noise and these things are not noise. So let's give that see what happens. And now you can see that there's a big change. And let's get rid of the room noise and go just with the actual sounds. A little creepy. All right, so we've got it pretty clean at this point. So, what do you think? Is that the voice of Burl Ives? Let's do a little side-by-side comparison. Let's check this out. I've got an interview from, this is from 1979. Burl Ives passed away in, I think, 1995, Burl Ives passed away, lung cancer. He was a big pipe smoker, so passed away of lung cancer. And it was a long life. He was in his 80s when he passed. Let's actually hear his voice in the late 1970s from interviews.
Someplace we got to bring them together, and that is when we are reborn.
Are they brought together at different times for different people?
Oh, yes, and in different ways. But as Jung says, this is...
That's Burl there. That's the real Burl. Now, maybe this is Ghost Burl. Obviously, we have no way of knowing if that is the ghost voice of Burl Ives having returned from the grave to reflect on his memories in the museum here at the House of the Temple. But you have to admit, it does sound a lot like Burl Ives in that video, and it's a little creepy that it took place in the middle of the night, not a soul in this building. You can explain away the things that go bump in the night, the little creaks and clicks and bangs. I mean, it's an old building, things like that happen, and it's easy enough to dismiss that. But that definitely sounds like a person or the ghost of a person doing some speaking. I'd love to know what you think. Drop a comment in the comment section below. And also, a little heads up about something happening here live on YouTube, Halloween night 2022. And if it's after Halloween night 2022 when you watch this video, make sure you look for the replay of this. But we're going to do a ghost watch here inside the house of the temple. Many of the staffers that work here in the building believe that the ghost of one of our past Grand Commanders, John Henry Coles, still walks these hallways. He actually passed away in this building, and he is interred here in this building. So perhaps he's still here. So what we've done is we've set cameras up all around the building, and we're going to keep them on all night long. And you can tune into our YouTube channel live and look at what happens inside the house of the temple after dark, after everyone's gone. And perhaps on Halloween night, when that veil between the living and the dead is supposedly as thin as it gets, we will be able to catch Grand Commander Coles walking the hallways here in his beloved house of the temple. So join us for that Halloween night 2022. Drop a comment below, share the video, give us a thumbs up, and by all means, please subscribe to our channel. I'm Maynard Edwards, 32nd Degree KCCH. Thanks for joining us. Happy Halloween, and we'll catch you right here next time on the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry channel.